Marcus Chen pressed his back against the broken wall and checked his medical supplies again. 3 bandages left, 1 pain injector, and barely enough healing gel for a single wound. The sounds of battle echoed through the ruined streets of New Geneva Colony. Plasma fire lit up the smoke-filled sky in bright blue flashes. "Chun, move your ass!" Sergeant Rodriguez shouted over the noise. "We're pushing forward in 30 seconds. Marcus nodded and shouldered his rifle. He'd been a combat medic for 3 years now, ever since the war with the Zephyrins started. The tall, crystal-skinned aliens had appeared from deep space and attacked human colonies without warning. At least, that was what Command told them. The squad moved through the rubble of what used to be a shopping center. Marcus stepped carefully around broken glass and twisted metal. His job was to keep his team alive, but lately, it felt like he was just watching good people die. A strange sound made him stop. It was soft, almost like crying, but it came from the wrong direction, from behind enemy lines. "Chan, what are you doing?" Rodriguez called. Marcus held up his hand for quiet. There it was again. Definitely crying, and it sounded young. Very young. He moved toward the sound, leaving his squad behind. They called his name, but he ignored them. The crying grew louder as he climbed over a pile of broken concrete. What he found made his heart stop. Zephyrian child lay trapped under a fallen beam. She could not have been more than 6 years old in human terms. Her crystal-like skin was cracked and bleeding a strange silver fluid. The light patterns on her face flickered weakly. Marcus had learned enough about Zephyrian biology to know this meant she was dying. The child's large, dark eyes found his face. She whimpered and tried to crawl away, but the beam had her legs pinned. Marcus lowered his rifle. Every instinct told him this was wrong. This was the enemy. Command had made it clear. No prisoners, no mercy. But all he saw was a scared little girl who needed help. He knelt beside her and spoke softly. "Hey there. I'm not going to hurt you." The child did not understand his words, but something in his voice made her stop trying to escape. She watched as he examined the beam trapping her legs. "Chun, get back here now." Rodriguez was getting closer. "We're moving out." Marcus looked at the child's injuries. Her left leg was clearly broken, and she had internal bleeding. Without help, she would die in minutes. With help, she might live. He made his choice. "Go without me," he shouted back. "I'll catch up." "Are you crazy?" "That's an order, soldier. I'm a medic first." Marcus called back. "And this kid needs help." He heard Rodriguez curse, and the sound of boots moving away. His squad was leaving him behind. Marcus did not blame them. In their place, he might have done the same. The child watched him with wide eyes as he began working to free her legs. The beam was heavy, but Marcus managed to lift it enough to pull her out. She cried out in pain, and he spoke to her gently. "I know it hurts, but I'm going to help you, okay?" He laid her flat and opened his medical kit. The healing gel was designed for humans, but he had studied Zephyrian anatomy in basic training. Their biology was different, but not completely alien. He hoped the gel would work. As he cleaned her wounds, Marcus noticed something strange. The light patterns on her skin seemed to react to his touch. When he was gentle, they glowed softly. When he had to cause pain to treat her injuries, they didn't. "You can feel what I'm feeling, can't you?" he whispered. The child made a soft sound that might have been agreement. Marcus worked quickly. He set her broken leg and sealed the worst cuts. The healing gel seemed to work, though it turned purple on her silver blood. He gave her half of his water and some of his emergency food. The ground shook. Artillery shells were getting closer. Marcus looked around for shelter and spotted a hole in the ground nearby. It looked like it led to old maintenance tunnels under the colony. He gathered the child in his arms. She was surprisingly light and carried her toward the opening. The first shell hit just as they reached the tunnel entrance. The blast threw Marcus forward, and he curled around the child to protect her as they tumbled into the darkness below. More shells followed. The tunnel shook, and dust rained down on them. Marcus covered the child's head with his jacket and pressed himself over her as the world exploded above them. Something heavy hit his back. Pain shot through his spine, and he tasted blood. But he did not move away from the child. Even when sharp metal cut into his shoulder, he kept her covered. The shelling lasted for what felt like hours. When it finally stopped, Marcus tried to move and gasped in pain. Something was wrong with his back, and his left arm would not work properly. The child stirred beneath him. Her light patterns were steady now, much brighter than before. She looked up at his face and touched the blood on his forehead with one small crystal finger. "He protect me," she whispered in broken human words. Marcus stared at her in shock. "You can speak our language?" "Little," she said. "Learn from prisoners. What's your name?" "Vatera." The words sounded like music. "You hurt for me." Marcus nodded. His back felt like it was on fire, and breathing was getting harder. "What matters is that you're safe." Vatera struggled to sit up. Her leg was still weak, but the healing gel had worked. She looked at Marcus's injuries with the serious expression that only children could manage. "You stay," she said firmly. "I help now." She began tearing strips from her own clothing to bandage his wounds. Her touch was gentle, and Marcus felt a strange warmth where she touched him. The pain began to fade. "How are you doing that?" he asked. "Zephyrian healing," she said. "Share life energy. Very rare. Only family. But I'm not your family." Vatera looked at him with those large, dark eyes. "You protect me. You hurt for me. Now you are family." Marcus felt tears on his face. In 3 years of war, he had forgotten what kindness looked like. Now he was learning it from a child who should have been his enemy. Outside, he could hear voices calling in the Zephyrian language. Search parties were coming. "They're looking for you," Marcus said. "Yes, Mother will be very worried." Vatera finished wrapping his shoulder. "She's an important person. Matriarch. A matriarch's daughter? Great. I'm definitely dead." Vatera shook her head. "No, you saved me. That means something to my people." The voices were getting closer. Marcus tried to stand but collapsed. His back was worse than he thought. "They'll kill me when they find us," he said. "No," Vatera said with certainty. "I will tell them. You are family now." Heavy footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Lights appeared in the darkness. Not electric lights, but the natural glow of Zephyrian warriors. Marcus closed his eyes and waited to die. But Vatera stood in front of him, small and brave, as her people found them. "He protect me," she called out in her own language, then repeated in human words. "He protect me." The Zephyrian warriors surrounded Marcus with weapons raised. Their crystal skin glowed with threatening red patterns, and their tall forms cast long shadows in the tunnel. Marcus had seen these beings kill his friends. Now it was his turn to die. But Vatera stepped between them, speaking rapidly in her musical language. The warriors looked confused. One of them, wearing more decorative armor than the others, knelt down to speak with her. Marcus could not understand their words, but he could see Vatera pointing at him, then at her bandaged leg. She showed them the healing gel on her wounds and spoke with the passion of a child trying to make adults understand something very important. The leader stood up slowly. His red light patterns had changed to blue, which Marcus had learned meant surprise or confusion. He spoke to Vatera again, and she nodded firmly. "Human," the leader said in accented but clear human standard. You are injured. We will carry you. Marcus blinked. You're not going to kill me? The child says you saved her life. Injured yourself protecting her. This requires discussion. Two warriors carefully lifted Marcus from the tunnel floor. Every movement sent pain through his damaged back, but their touch was surprisingly gentle. Vetra walked beside them, keeping one small hand on Marcus's arm. They emerged into daylight that hurt Marcus's eyes. A large Zephyrian transport waited nearby, its organic-looking hull pulsing with soft light. The warriors carried him inside and placed him on something that felt like a cross, between a bed and a living creature. Vetara climbed up beside him as the transport began to move. Where are they taking me? Marcus asked her. Healing place, she said. Make you better. And then? She was quiet for a moment. Do not know. Never happened before. Human saved Zephyrian child. She looked at him seriously. But I tell them, you are a good person. The transport flew for several hours. Marcus drifted in and out of sleep, aware of medical equipment being attached to his body. Strange, warm sensations flowed through the connections, and the pain in his back began to fade. When he fully woke up, he was in a room unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, glowing softly with patterns that shifted like slow breathing. The bed beneath him was definitely organic, adjusting to support his body perfectly. Vetara sat in a chair beside him, drawing pictures on a tablet made of the same crystal-like material as her skin. Her leg was completely healed now, though she still limped slightly. How long was I unconscious? Marcus asked. 2 days. Zephyrian healing is very good for humans, they discover. Your back is fixed. Marcus tried to move and was amazed to find she was right. The burning pain was gone, replaced by a feeling of strength he had not had in years. Why are they helping me? Vetara looked up from her drawing. I explain about Kethver. Life debt. When someone saves life, especially child's life, it creates sacred bond. Very important to my people. Sacred bond? Yes, you saved me when you could have left me to die. You hurt yourself to protect me from bombs. This is highest form of Kethver. She paused, searching for the right words. It means you are connected to my family now. Marcus stared at her. Your family? But we're different species. We're at war. War does not matter for Kethver. Life debt is older than war, older than hate. Mother will have to decide what to do. Your mother? The matriarch? Vetara nodded. She comes tomorrow. Very angry that I was in danger, but also very confused about human who saved me. A door opened in the wall. Marcus had not even seen it was there. A Zephyrian in white robes entered, carrying what looked like medical equipment. This is Hila Kren, Vetara said. He takes care of you. Speaks little human language, but is kind. Kren approached slowly, his light patterns showing calm green colors. He spoke to Vetara, who translated. He says your injuries are healed, but you need rest. Also, he wants to know about human medicine. Very interested in how you helped me with your healing gel. Marcus spent the next hour trying to explain human medical techniques to an alien doctor through a child translator. It was strange and wonderful at the same time. Kren was genuinely curious about human biology and seemed impressed by Marcus's field treatment of VES single quotes THR a dot when Kren left. More visitors came. Young Zephyrians who had heard about the human who saved their princess. They were shy at first, hiding behind the doorframe. But Vetara called them in. They want to see the brave human, she explained. Marcus found himself surrounded by alien children, their light patterns flickering with curiosity and excitement. They did not speak human language, but they communicated through gestures and drawings. One young male showed Marcus a picture he had drawn of human soldiers fighting Zephyrian warriors. Then he drew another picture of a human holding a Zephyrian child, protecting her from explosions. The contrast was clear. "They understand what you did," Vetora said softly. "Children see truth more clearly than adults sometimes." Over the following days, Marcus learned more about Zephyrian culture than any human had before. Vetora was an eager teacher, and her natural curiosity led to long conversations about everything from food to philosophy. He learned that Zephyrians did not see war the same way humans did. For them, it was not about conquest or territory, but about protecting their sacred places and their way of life. They viewed humans as destructive invaders who did not understand the value of the worlds they colonized. "Your people built city on Kethmoran," Vetora explained one day. "But Kethmoran is burial place of our ancestors. Very sacred, like building shopping mall on your church." "We didn't know," Marcus said. "No one told us it was sacred to your people." "No one asked," Vetora replied sadly. "Humans came and started building. When we tried to speak, you shot at us." Marcus felt a heavy weight in his chest. How many wars started because people did not talk to each other? How many died because of misunderstandings? Vetora seemed to sense his sadness. She moved closer and placed her hand on his arm. Immediately, he felt a warm sensation, and his dark thoughts began to fade. "You share emotions?" Marcus asked. "Little bit. Zephyrians are connected to each other. Family most of all." Since you saved me, we have small connection too." She smiled. "It means I can tell when you are sad and help you feel better. And I can feel what you feel? Sometimes. When emotions are very strong." That evening, as Marcus was learning to eat Zephyrian food, which tasted like spicy flowers, Vetora suddenly became very still. Her light patterns turned bright yellow. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "Mother is here," Vetora whispered. "She is very angry and very confused." Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy, measured, and full of authority. Marcus had heard enough military commanders to recognize the sound of someone who expected absolute obedience. The wall door opened, and Matriarch Velthara entered the room. She was tall, even for a Zephyrian, with armor that seemed to be made of living crystal. Her light patterns were deep red shot through with gold, colors Marcus had never seen before. Her face was beautiful in an alien way, but her eyes held the coldness of someone who had seen too much war. She looked at Marcus for a long moment, then spoke to Vetora in their language. Her voice was controlled, but Marcus could hear the anger underneath. Vetora replied, then switched to human standard. "Mother, this is Marcus Chun, the human who saved my life." Velthara's eyes narrowed. "So this is the soldier who was on the battlefield where my daughter nearly died." "He didn't nearly kill me, Mother. He saved me. Look." Vetora showed her the drawings the children had made. "He stayed behind when his soldiers left. He protected me from the bombs with his own body." Velthara studied the pictures, then looked back at Marcus. "Human soldiers have killed thousands of our people. You expect me to believe one of them risked his life for a Zephyrian child?" Marcus found his voice. "I'm a medic, Matriarch. My job is to save lives, not take them." "Not take them? When I saw your daughter trapped and hurt, I couldn't just walk away, even though she was your enemy?" "She wasn't my enemy. She was a scared little girl who needed help." Velthara moved closer to Marcus. "You understand that your actions make no sense to my military advisors? They think this is some sort of human trick. It's not a trick. I just did what was right. Right?" Velthara's light patterns flashed brighter. "What is right about humans destroying our sacred worlds?" "We didn't know they were sacred," Marcus said. "If we had known, we never would have." "Ignorance is not an excuse for sacrilege." Mother, please, Vetara interrupted. He speaks truth. I can feel it through our connection. Velthara stopped and stared at her daughter. Connection? What connection? When he saved me, when he shared his life energy to protect me, it created a bond. Small one, but real. He feels what I feel. I know his heart. The room fell silent. Velthara's light patterns shifted from red to blue to purple, emotions Marcus could not read. Is this true, human? She asked quietly. Marcus nodded. I can sense when she's sad or happy. And when she touched me after the bombing, I felt peaceful, like family. Velthara closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them again, something had changed in her expression. I must consider this carefully, she said. What you describe is not possible between our species. Yet my daughter does not lie. She turned to leave, then paused. You will remain here while I decide what to do with you. 3 days passed before Velthara returned. During that time, Marcus had become something of a celebrity among the younger Zephyrians at the medical facility. They brought him pictures, asked questions through Vectara, and seemed fascinated by everything human. The older Zephyrians were different. They watched him with suspicious eyes and whispered among themselves. Marcus did not need to understand their language to know they were debating whether to kill him. When Velthara finally entered his room, she was not alone. 6 other Zephyrians followed her, all wearing the same elaborate armor that marked them as high-ranking officials. Their light patterns were cold blue and silver, formal colors that meant serious business. Marcus Chan, Velthara said formally, the Council of Matriarchs has debated your fate for 3 days. Some call for your immediate execution as a war criminal. Others believe you should be returned to your people in a prisoner exchange. Marcus felt his heart sink. He looked at Vetnera, who was sitting beside him. Her light patterns were dim with worry. However, Velthara continued, there is a third option, one that has never been used with an alien before. She gestured to one of the other matriarchs, who stepped forward carrying a crystal tablet. The alien began to read from it in the musical Zephyrian language. She is reciting the law of Kethver Vellani, Velthara explained. The highest form of life debt. When someone saves a child's life through personal sacrifice, especially the child of a matriarch, certain obligations are created. Marcus waited, not sure if he wanted to hear what came next. According to our oldest laws, you have earned the right to be claimed as family. Not adopted, claimed. It would make you my chosen son, with all the rights and responsibilities that come with that title. The other matriarchs began speaking rapidly, clearly arguing about something. Marcus caught enough words to understand they were not all in agreement. What would that mean exactly? Marcus asked. You would become a member of my bloodline. You would have access to our technology, our knowledge, our worlds. You would speak for my clan in matters of importance. Velthara paused. You would also be expected to defend Zephyrian interests as you would defend your birth family, even against humans, if necessary. Marcus felt the weight of the choice. Accept, and he would be turning his back on his own species. Refuse, and he would likely be executed or traded back to humans who would court-martial him for helping the enemy. What does Vetera think? He asked. The child immediately spoke up. I think you are already my brother in all ways that matter. The claiming would just make it official. One of the other matriarchs said something sharp to Velthara, who replied with equal firmness. The argument grew heated. What are they saying? Marcus asked. V. Isathara, listen for a moment. Matriarch Kethvolume says it is impossible to claim an alien, that our biology is too different. Matriarch Sinara agrees with her. Mother is arguing that the law does not specify species, only actions. The debate continued for nearly an hour. Marcus watched as gestures became more animated and light patterns flashed with increasing intensity. Finally, Velthara held up her hand for silence. "There is only one way to settle this," she announced. "We attempt the claiming ritual. If Marcus Chen's human biology cannot adapt to our life-bonding process, he will die, and the matter will be resolved. If he survives, then the universe itself has decided he belongs with us." Marcus felt a chill. Die? What exactly does this ritual involve? Zephyrian families are connected through shared bioenergy, Velthara explained. The claiming process links your nervous system to ours through specially adapted nanoscale organisms. It allows us to share thoughts, emotions, and life force when needed. And if my body rejects these organisms, then your nervous system will shut down and you will die within minutes. Marcus looked around the room. The matriarchs were watching him with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. Only Vetera seemed worried about the risk to his life. "If I refuse, then you will be returned to your people as a prisoner exchange. They will likely court-martial you for collaboration with the enemy." Marcus thought about his options. Return to a military that would see him as a traitor, or risk death to become something entirely new. It was not really a choice at all. "I accept the claiming," he said. Vetara's light patterns brightened with relief. Velthara nodded approvingly. The other matriarchs looked like they had been hoping he would refuse. "The ritual will take place tomorrow at sunset," Velthara announced. "Marcus Chen, use this time to prepare yourself. The process is intense." That evening, Vetara helped Marcus understand what he was about to experience. She showed him recordings of young Zephyrians going through their first family bonding, a ceremony every child experienced when they turned 12. "It looks painful," Marcus observed, watching a young Zephyrian convulse as light patterns raced across her skin. "It is," Vetara admitted. "But pain passes. Family bond lasts forever. Are you sure you want me to do this? There's a good chance I'll die." Vetera took his hand in both of hers. "You already risked death to save me. This time, you risk death to stay with me. I think you are braver than any warrior I have known." The next day passed slowly. Marcus tried to eat but had no appetite. He attempted to read some Zephyrian texts that Vetera had brought him, but could not concentrate. As sunset approached, his nervousness grew. Velthara came to escort him to the ritual chamber. "Second thoughts?" she asked. "Many," Marcus admitted, "but I'm still going through with it." "Good. Doubt is healthy. Blind courage gets people killed." The ritual chamber was deep underground, carved from natural crystal formations. Bioluminescent patterns covered the walls, pulsing in complex rhythms. A circle of matriarchs waited in the center, with Vetera standing beside what looked like an organic altar. "Last chance to change your mind," Velthara said quietly. Marcus looked at Vetera, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Let's do this." He lay down on the altar, which immediately began to conform to his body. Warm tendrils emerged from its surface, attaching to his skin at various points. He felt a strange tingling sensation. Velthara began chanting in the ancient Zephyrian language. The other matriarchs joined her, their voices creating complex harmonies that seemed to resonate through Marcus's bones. The tingling became burning. Marcus gritted his teeth as fire raced through his veins. The altar beneath him began to glow, and he could feel microscopic organisms entering his bloodstream. The pain intensified. Marcus gasped and arched his back as every nerve in his body seemed to catch fire. He could hear Vetera calling his name, but her voice sounded far away. Something was wrong. The organisms were attacking his immune system, and his body was fighting back violently. Marcus felt his heart racing, then slowing, then racing again. His biology is rejecting the bond. One of the matriarchs called out. "Continue the ritual," Velthara ordered. "It is not complete yet." Marcus's vision began to fade. He could feel his life slipping away as alien organisms and human biology waged war inside him. This was how he would die, not in battle, but on an alien altar trying to become something impossible. Then he felt a small hand take his. Velthara had broken from the circle and grabbed his fingers. Immediately, a new sensation flooded through him. Calm, warm, loving energy that seemed to come from the child herself. "I share my life with you," Velthara said, her voice strong and clear. "As you shared yours with me." The energy she gave him was exactly what the alien organisms needed. Instead of fighting his biology, they began working with it, guided by the connection he already had with Velthara. The pain transformed into something else, not pleasant, but bearable. Bearable. Marcus felt changes happening throughout his body as the organisms established. New pathways in his nervous system. Light began to glow beneath his skin. Faint patterns appeared on his arms and face, much dimmer than a natural Zephyrian's, but unmistakably there. The ritual reached its climax as all the matriarchs joined their voices in a final, powerful note. Marcus felt a sudden rush of connection, not just to Velthara and Velthara, but to every Zephyrian in the chamber. He could feel their emotions, their thoughts, their memories. For a brief moment, he experienced the war from their perspective, the horror they felt when humans began building on their sacred worlds, the desperation that drove them to fight, the love they had for their children. Then the connections faded to a manageable level, leaving him linked only to his new family. Marcus opened his eyes and saw Velthara leaning over him. Her expression was unreadable, but her light patterns showed amazement. "How do you feel?" she asked. Marcus took inventory of his body. Everything felt different, stronger, more connected, more alive. "Strange," he said. "But good strange." He sat up and looked at his hands. Faint blue lines traced patterns across his palms, pulsing gently in rhythm with his heartbeat. "The claiming is complete," Velthara announced to the other matriarchs. Marcus Chun is now Marcus Velkin, chosen son of the House of Velthara. Some of the matriarchs bowed respectfully. Others looked like they had tasted something bitter. Velthara threw her arms around Marcus's neck. "You did it! You're really my brother now." Marcus hugged her back, feeling the warm glow of their strengthened connection. "Yes, I am." The news of Marcus's claiming spread across both human and Zephyrian space like wildfire. Within days, every military commander, politician, and news reporter in 2 solar systems was talking about the human who had become an alien. Prince Marcus watched the reports from his new quarters in the Zephyrian flagship Harmony of Stars. Human. News called him everything from a hero to a traitor. Zephyrian broadcasts were equally divided, with some calling him a bridge to peace and others demanding his immediate execution. "Ignore them," Velthara advised as they watched a particularly harsh human broadcast. "Politicians and reporters speak loudly but understand little. What matters is that you now have the authority to speak for both sides." Marcus touched the light patterns on his arm, still getting used to their gentle glow. "What do you mean?" "As my chosen son, you carry the full diplomatic authority of my house. And as a human, you understand your people's perspective. You are perhaps the only being in the galaxy who can truly represent both species in negotiations." "Negotiations?" Marcus looked up hopefully. "There's going to be peace talks?" "Both sides have agreed to meet," Velthara confirmed. "Largely because they want to see this impossible human-Zephyrian hybrid for themselves. The location is the neutral space station Concordia in the DMZ between our territories." Velthara, who had been quietly drawing in the corner, looked up from her tablet. "Can I come too? I want to help." Absolutely not, Valthara said firmly. It will be dangerous enough for Marcus. Every extremist on both sides will see him as a target. But Marcus saw something in Valthara's expression, a determination that reminded him of her mother. Actually, I think she should come. People need to see what started all this. They need to remember that this is about protecting children, not winning wars. Valthara considered this. It would certainly make an impact. But the risks... I'll protect her, Marcus said simply. Just like before. 3 days later, they arrived at Concordia Station. The massive structure hung in space like a crystal flower, its neutral white hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Ships from both fleets surrounded it, human destroyers and Zephian bioships, maintaining careful distances from each other. Marcus felt nervous as their transport docked. Through his connection with Valthara, he could sense that she was excited rather than scared. Her emotions helped calm his own fears. The docking bay was filled with reporters, diplomats, and security personnel from both species. As Marcus stepped off the transport, cameras flashed and voices called out questions in a dozen different languages. Marcus Chun, is it true you can read Zephyrian minds now? Are you still loyal to humanity? What does it feel like to be part alien? Marcus ignored the questions and focused on reaching the conference room. But as they walked through the station corridors, he noticed something troubling. Several human security officers were watching him with hostile expressions, and their hand positions suggested they were ready to draw weapons. Valthara squeezed his hand. Something wrong, she whispered in human standard. I know. Stay close. They entered the main conference chamber, a large circular room with seats arranged around a central table. Human delegates sat on one side, Zephyrians on the other. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. General Harrison, Marcus's former commanding officer, stood as they approached. Sergeant Chun, or should I say, Your Highness. His tone was mocking. Marcus is fine, General. Is it? Because from where I sit, you look like you've gone native. Those light patterns on your skin, are you even human anymore? Before Marcus could answer, one of the Zephyrian delegates spoke up. The question we should ask is whether he is truly Zephyrian. How do we know this is not some human deception? Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, and his light patterns flashed red. Immediately, he felt Valthara's calming influence through their bond. I am both, Marcus said firmly. And neither. I am something new. Something that can speak for both sides, because I understand both sides. Prove it, General Harrison challenged. Marcus walked to the center of the room. General, you're angry because you think I betrayed my oath to protect humanity. But I never stopped protecting humans. I just expanded my definition of who deserves protection. He turned to the skeptical Zephyrian delegate. Matriarch Valthara, you doubt my loyalty because I was born human. But would any human fake a bond that could have killed him? Would any human risk everything to save a Zephyrian child? Words are easy, Valthara replied coldly. Show us something real. Marcus looked at Valthara, who nodded encouragingly. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He shared his memories of the bombing through the psychic link that all Zephyrians could access. Every Zephyrian in the room suddenly experienced Marcus's perspective of that day, his decision to stay behind, the pain of shielding Valthara from the explosions, the genuine care he felt for a child who should have been his enemy. Several of the Zephyrian delegates gasped. Even Valthara's light pattern softened from cold blue to surprised yellow. This is not possible for humans, one of them whispered. It is possible for me, Marcus replied, because I am no longer just human. General Harrison looked confused. What just happened? He shared his memories with us, Valthara explained. Something only true family can do. No human technology could fake such a connection. The mood in the room began to shift. Delegates from both sides started asking real questions instead of making accusations. For the first time since the war began, humans and Zephyrians were actually talking to each other. Marcus spent the next 3 hours answering questions, translating cultural concepts, and helping both sides understand each other's perspectives. When the Zephyrians explained about their sacred burial worlds, many of the human delegates looked genuinely shocked. "We had no idea," Admiral Chun, no relation, despite the shared name, admitted. "Our survey showed uninhabited worlds with no signs of civilization." "Because you only looked for your kind of civilization," Marcus explained. "Zephyrian sacred sites are designed to blend with nature. To you, they looked empty. To them, you were building shopping malls on their churches." By the end of the day, both sides had agreed to continue the talks. It was not peace yet, but it was a beginning. That evening, as Marcus was returning to his quarters, he sensed danger. His enhanced awareness picked up the subtle signs, footsteps that matched his pace too closely, the nervous energy of people preparing for violence. He had just enough time to push Vetara behind a pillar before the attack began. 3 human soldiers, in civilian, clothes opened fire with plasma rifles. Marcus threw himself in front of Vetara as energy bolts seared the air where they had been standing. "Traitor!" one of them shouted. "You sold out your own species." Marcus felt his new Zephyrian abilities activate. Time seemed to slow as his enhanced reflexes kicked in. He could see the energy patterns of the weapons, predict where they would fire next. He rolled to cover behind a support beam, pulling Vetara with him. "Stay down," he ordered. "Marcus, you're bleeding," she said, pointing to where a plasma bolt had grazed his shoulder. "I'm fine. Can you contact security?" Vetara closed her eyes and reached out with her psychic abilities. Within seconds, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The attackers realized their time was running out. They charged Marcus's position, firing wildly. But his new hybrid nature gave him advantages they had not expected. He could sense their intentions through the emotional resonance that Zephyrians use to detect danger. Marcus disarmed the first attacker with a move that would have been impossible for normal human reflexes. The man's weapon went flying, and Marcus used it to provide cover fire while moving Vetara to a safer position. Security forces arrived, just as the remaining attackers were about to rush his position. The fight ended quickly, with 2 attackers dead and 1 captured. As medics treated Marcus's wounds, General Harrison arrived on the scene. "I want you to know, Sergeant, that these men were acting without orders." "But not without encouragement," Marcus replied. "How many people in the human fleet see me as a traitor?" Harrison was quiet for a moment. "More than I'd like, but also fewer than there were yesterday. Your performance in the negotiations impressed some people. What about the Zephyrian side? Any assassination attempts from them?" "Not yet, but Matriarch Kalthar has been making speeches about hybrid abominations since the talks began." Marcus sighed. "So I'm equally hated by both sides." "That's actually encouraging." "How is that encouraging?" "Because it means I'm truly neutral. When both sides want to kill you, you know you're not playing favorites." Vetara, who had been unusually quiet since the attack, suddenly spoke up. "I want to make a statement to the reporters." "Absolutely not," Balthara said firmly. "You are not going to risk." "Mother, please. Let me tell them what I saw today. Let me tell them about Marcus protecting me again, just like he did during the bombing." The next morning, Vetara stood before a room full of reporters from both species. Marcus stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder for support. "My name is Vetara, daughter of Matriarch Velthara," she began in perfect human standard. "Some of you know me as the child Marcus saved during the Battle of New Geneva. Yesterday, He saved me again. 5 years after the peace talks, Marcus stood on the observation deck of Haven's Bridge colony and watched the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and purple. The sight never got old. This world had 2 suns, creating sunrises that were breathtakingly beautiful. Below him, the colony buzzed with morning activity. Human children played alongside young Zephyrians in the Central Park. Adult colonists from both species worked together in the hydroponic gardens and manufacturing centers. The bioarchitectural buildings grew organically from Zephyrian design principles, while the infrastructure underneath followed human engineering standards. "Brother, the morning council meeting is starting," Vitara called from behind him. Marcus turned to see her approaching. She was 16 now, tall and graceful like her mother, but with an easy smile that was entirely her own. She wore a simple colony uniform that marked her as the head of cultural integration, a job she had taken very seriously. "How many disputes today?" Marcus asked as they walked together toward the council chambers. 3. The Hendersons and the Kethmal family are arguing about noise levels again. Dr. Sarah thinks the biolights in her lab are too dim, but engineer Velchris says making them brighter will hurt the living circuits. And there's a new one. Some of the human teenagers want to get bio-tattoos, like the Zephyrian kids have naturally. Marcus chuckled. Normal colony problems. Remember when our biggest worry was whether humans and Zephyrians could live together without killing each other? Those were simpler times, Vitara agreed. Now we have to worry about teenagers wanting to modify themselves with alien biotechnology. The council chamber was a circular room that embodied the colony's principles. Half the walls were traditional human metal and ceramic, the other half living Zephyrian biomaterial. The 2 halves met seamlessly in the center, creating something entirely new. Around the table sat 12 colonists, 6 human, 6 Zephyrian, representing every major group in the settlement. Marcus took his seat at the head of the table, with Vitara to his right as his deputy. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus began. "Let's start with the Henderson-Kethmal noise issue." What followed was a typical colony council meeting. The problems were small but important to the people involved. Marcus had learned that successful integration was not about solving big philosophical differences. It was about handling the little daily conflicts that arose when different cultures lived together. The noise issue was solved by establishing quiet hours that respected both human sleep cycles and Zephyrian meditation periods. The lab lighting problem required a compromise where biocircuits could be brightened during specific hours. The teen bio-tattoo request sparked a longer discussion about cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. "I think we need to involve both communities in this decision," Vitara suggested. "Maybe create a program where human teens can learn about the spiritual meaning behind biopatterns before they decide to get them." Elder Tremcall, the oldest Zephyrian on the council, nodded approvingly. "Education prevents offense. If human younglings understand what the patterns mean, they will choose appropriately. And if Zephyrian families share the meaning, it becomes less appropriation and more adoption," added Dr. Sarah Martinez, representing the human science teams. Marcus loved moments like these. Instead of arguing about differences, both communities were working together to find solutions that honored everyone's concerns. After the council meeting, Marcus walked through the colony with Vitara. They made this tour every day, checking on various projects and talking with colonists from both species. In the education center, human and Zephyrian children learned side by side. Marcus watched as a young human girl helped a Zephyrian boy with his mathematics homework, while the boy helped her understand bioscience concepts that came naturally to his people. "Look at them," Vitara said softly. "They don't see differences the way adults do. To them, Kira is just good at math, and Selen is just good at bioscience. That's the real success of this place," Marcus agreed. Not the technology exchanges or the cultural programs. It's that these kids will grow up thinking cooperation between species is normal. They continued their tour to the medical center, where Marcus still worked part-time as both doctor and cultural consultant. Today, he was treating a Zephyrian colonist who had suffered an allergic reaction to human food, and a human engineer who had been exposed to too much bioluminescent radiation. "Dr. Marcus," called out Nurse Keffler as they entered. "Mrs. Peterson is asking about the biohealing treatment for her arthritis again." Marcus smiled. "Tell her I'll be right there. And remind her that the treatment takes 3 weeks to be fully effective." Mrs. Peterson was in her 70s, one of the oldest human colonists. She had been skeptical about Zephyrian medicine at first, but after seeing how effectively it treated various conditions, she had become one of its strongest advocates. Doctor, this new treatment is amazing," she said, as Marcus examined her joints. "I haven't felt this good in 20 years. The bio-nanites are designed to repair damaged tissue slowly but permanently," Marcus explained. "Much gentler than human surgical techniques, but takes longer to work. I don't mind waiting if it means I can garden again. Speaking of which, my tomatoes are doing wonderfully next to the Volcari crystals. Who would have thought human vegetables would grow better with Zephyrian minerals?" These small interactions were what made Marcus happiest. People from both species helping each other, learning from each other, becoming neighbors and friends instead of enemies. That evening, Marcus and Vetara sat on the balcony of their shared home, watching the twin suns set behind the mountains. The colony's biolights began to glow softly as darkness fell, creating patterns that were both beautiful and functional. "Message from Mother today," Vetara said, showing Marcus a holographic display. "The third joint colony is officially approved. They're calling it New Harmony, and they want us to help design the integration protocols." "That's wonderful. How many humans and Zephyrians have applied for placement?" "Over 50,000 from each species. Much more than they can accommodate in the first phase." Marcus shook his head in amazement. 5 years ago, both sides were trying to kill each other. Now we have waiting lists of people who want to live together. "It's because of what you started," Vetara said. "When you chose to save me instead of following orders, you proved that individuals could choose cooperation over conflict. What I started, we finished together. The colony only works because you've been here to help translate not just languages, but entire ways of thinking." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Both human and Zephyrian ships could be seen moving through the system, no longer as enemies, but as partners in exploration and trade. "Do you ever miss being fully human?" Vetara asked quietly. Marcus considered the question. He had been asked it many times over the years, by reporters, colonists, and even himself during difficult moments. "Sometimes I miss the simplicity," he admitted. "Being human was easier in some ways. Clear identity, clear loyalties, clear understanding of what I was." He touched the light patterns on his arm, which pulsed gently in the evening air. "But I wouldn't change what I am now. Being part of both worlds, being able to bridge them, it feels like what I was meant to do." "I'm glad you chose to stay with us," Vetara said, even when the human government offered to reverse the claiming process. Marcus remembered that offer. It had come 2 years ago, when human scientists finally understood enough about Zephyrian biotechnology to potentially undo his transformation. He had seriously considered it for about 5 minutes. "This is my family," he said simply. "You, your mother, even the difficult colonists who complain about noise levels. One belong here." A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Marcus accepted the holographic call, and Admiral Chun appeared on the display. "Marcus, I hope I'm not interrupting your evening." "Not at all, Admiral. What can I do for you?" I wanted to give you advance notice. The Joint Council has approved the Deep Space Exploration Project. The first mixed human Zephyrian crew will launch next month to investigate those energy readings beyond the Helix Nebula. That's fantastic news. Have you chosen the crew members yet? Actually, we were hoping you and Vetara would consider joining the mission. We need experienced cultural liaisons, and there's no one better qualified than the team that proved mixed crews can work. Marcus looked at Vetara, who was practically glowing with excitement. Through their bond, he could feel her eagerness for new adventures and new challenges. We're honored by the invitation, Marcus replied. But we have responsibilities here at the colony. The colony is running smoothly now. It practically governs itself. And think about it. You started something here that changed the course of history. Imagine what you could discover out there among the stars. After the call ended, Marcus and Vetara discussed the opportunity. The idea of exploring unknown space with a mixed human Zephyrian crew was exciting. But leaving Haven's Bridge felt like abandoning their life's work. What do you think? Marcus asked. I think, Vetara said slowly, that you taught me something important 5 years ago.